So welcome back to once again all new channel Swayam Educational Foundation, a charitable initiative for educated and empowered Bharat, which deals not only in education but also providing health care facilities uh, to the poor sections of the society. Thank you so much. So today, as you know, that it was demanded by the students, so we are beginning with a all new chapter from Geography, Book 2, that is India, People and Economy. The name of the chapter is Planning and Sustainable Development in Indian Context. So let me share. Planning is not new to you, as you know that you must have used it several times during your examination and English. So what is planning actually? If I say planning is the process of thinking. So what does it involve? Thinking. And then formulation of a scheme or a program, and then implement that program for a set of actions to achieve some goal. So basically, if I have to say that planning involves thinking process, formulation of a scheme and a program, and then implementation of those set of actions so that you can reach to your desired goal. That is called planning. Now, let us come to the NITI Aayog, what earlier it was known as Planning Commission of India. So presently it is known as NITI Aayog. If I say NITI Aayog, it was established on 1st January 2015, and it was adopted. Let me highlight first. So it was established on 1st January 2015. Remember, NITI Aayog, it has a full form, and you may be asked in your what you call MCQ question, what does NITI stand for in NITI Aayog? So NITI Aayog, in NITI Aayog, NITI stands for National Institution for Transforming India. Okay, so National Institution for Transforming India, that is NITI Aayog. Uh, as you know, its headquarters is in Delhi, and it was established by the Prime Minister Narendra Modi after having dissolved the Planning Commission, which was established in 1950 earlier. So NITI Aayog has replaced the Planning Commission. And what was the basic aim of establishing this organization? So let me just mark also. So the Planning Commission. Now, the basic objective of NITI Aayog is of involving the states in economic policy, making for India, for providing and technical advice to the central and state governments. So basically, if I say the main aim is to foster involvement and participation in the economic policy making process by state governments of India. Remember what used to happen in earlier, if you are asked somehow that differentiate between Planning Commission and NITI Aayog, so there is a great difference between NITI Aayog and Planning Commission. That I'll tell you. But before that, you need to know, as in the Planning Commission also, the chairperson of the Planning Commission was always the Prime Minister of India. In the same manner, in NITI Aayog also, it's always the Prime Minister of India who is the chairperson. Now, as I was saying, that if you have to write down the difference between NITI Aayog and Planning Commission, so what will you do? Now, this is a character different thing which you may be asked, because earlier it was the Planning Commission. You must have read economics also. You must have been told about this during chapter 2 in political science, politics of plan development. So that means you have been time and again asked about these things. So NITI Aayog, basically to be an advisory body or a think tank, the powers to allocate funds might be vested in the finance ministry. NITI Aayog is also the number of full-time members could be fewer than Planning Commission. Then state governments are expected to play a more significant role than they did in the planning commission. So this is the basic difference between planning commission and NITI Aayog. And another thing, the member secretary of the planning commission to be known as CEO. The first CEO of the planning commission was Shaktikant Das. So the appointed by the prime minister, and he is always appointed by the prime minister. Whereas in planning commission, if we see, it enjoyed the powers to allocate funds to ministries and state governments. The last commission had 8 full-time members in planning commission, but the role of states was limited to National Development Council and annual interaction, whereas in NITI Aayog, it is a regular interaction, means maybe quarterly or maybe even monthly, there is an interaction. Then secretaries or the member secretaries were appointed through the usual process. So here in a NITI Aayog, CEO or the member secretary is appointed by Prime Minister. So this is the basic difference which we have to understand. Now, if I say the types of planning basically, so we need to understand that generally there are two approaches to planning. When we talk about the approaches, so you may be asked the question where you are asked that what are the approaches to planning. So there are two approaches to planning. And what are they called? Let me highlight also. So the first approach is known as sectoral planning, and the second approach is known as regional planning. Now, let me give one example, a basic example. Okay, though it is written in here also. When we talk about the sector, so sector, that means, for example, we say primary sector, secondary sector, or you can say irrigation, agriculture, manufacturing, communication, social infrastructure, service sector. But if I give you a live example, so what may happen, you may see that in your, for example, you have 5 or 6 subjects, depending on whether you have opted for 6 subjects or not. So you have 5 subjects. Now, what are these 5 subjects? These 5 subjects are different sectors in which you are studying. And when you plan for these sectors, that which subject you are poor in, how you are going to prepare for that, that is known as sectoral planning. Whereas if we talk about the regional planning, for example, you are weak in geography, say, for that matter. So in geography, for example, you are weak. So what you will do? You will first of all chalk out a plan that which are those chapters which are easy and you are able to do them. Then you will just take out the difficult chapter. For example, if I say primary sector, then transport and communication. So all such chapters which are difficult, then you will start. These are your focus areas where you are lagging behind. So you will plan accordingly so that you can also come at par with the other chapters also. So that is known as regional planning. So easily you can understand what is the difference between regional planning and sectoral planning. So there is no uniform economic development over space in any country. So some areas may be more developed, some are lagging behind. So this uneven pattern of development over space necessitates that planners have a spatial perspective to draw the plans to reduce the regional imbalance and development. And this type of planning is known as regional planning. So you are lagging behind in some particular chapter in geography. So you plan for that. You chalk out the strategy. You just develop some strategies to overcome how you are going to read, how much time you are going to provide, which type of notes you are going to take. So that is a regional plan. Now, if I say the planning has different types of targets. So, for example, target area planning. Now, when we talk about the target area planning, so the planning process has to take special care of those areas which have remained economically backward. So the economic development of a region depends upon its resource base. So it also requires technology as well as investment besides the resources. So what will happen? It was realized that regional imbalances in economic development were getting accentuated. So accentuated, that means they are getting accumulated slowly and slowly, one over the other on the top of it. So it is getting accentuated. So regional imbalances, that means, for example, if I say Maharashtra has always been an industrial part. So what has been there? It has been developing. Whereas in comparison to Bihar, it has not got that much attention from the industries, though it had mining, but still it lagged behind in the development. So this was the regional imbalance which was caused. So what happened? So in order to arrest the accentuation of the regional and social disparities, the Planning Commission introduced target area and target group approach to planning. Now, this is another important thing. When we talk about target area, for example, if I say hill area or drought area, so that is area program. Now, when we say group approach, that means who is the particular person. So that is a group approach. For example, if I say SCs, STs, or the females, or the other weaker sections of the society. So accordingly, the target area and target group approach was devised to the plan. Now, let us read about some examples. Examples of target area program, if I say. So target areas, which are those? The first one is Command Area Development Program, CADP, or CAD भी बोल सकते हैं इसे. Then DPAP, Drought Prone Area Development Program. Then Desert Development Program and Hill Area Development Program. So all these are talking about some particular region. There is some particular area where they want to do some work. So that's why they are known as target area program. If we talk about the target group programs, so we need to understand that means they will particularly focus on some people. So if I say, let me change the color. Okay. So target group. So the Small Farmers Development Agency and Marginal Farmers Development Agency. So SFDA and MFDA. These are two of the examples of target group program. So in the 8th 5-year plan, special area program were designed to develop infrastructure in hill areas, northeastern states, tribal areas, and backward areas. So now let us come to the hill area development program. Now remember, this is one of the most important thing, and this hill area development program was initiated during 5th 5-year plan. So covering 15 districts comprising all the hill districts of, which are those areas? Uttar Pradesh, present Uttarakhand, that means. Then Mekir Hill and North Kachar Hills of Assam, Darjeeling district of West Bengal, and Nilgiri districts of Tamil Nadu. So these were the areas which were targeted. So these were 50, in these areas, 15 districts were there which were covered under this. So the National Committee on Development of Backward Area in 1981 recommended that all the hill areas in the country having height above 600 meters. Now this is important. Any hill area, and this was given by the National Committee on the Development of Backward Area. And in 1981, it said that any area which has a height above 600 meters. So height above 600 meters and not covered under the tribal subplan be treated as hill area program. If it has not already been treated as a tribal area program, so what will happen? It will be covered under hill area development program. Now, why it was created hill area development program? If you are asked, what's the main aim of this program? Basically, if I tell you, so the main aim of the hill area development program was harnessing the indigenous resources of the hill areas through development of horticulture, plantation agriculture, animal husbandry, poultry farming, forestry, and small scale village industries. So this was the main uh, areas of target, or this was the main aim of this program. If we come now, after Hill Area Development Program, let us come to DPAP. This is really important from the board perspective. This has been asked several times. So I'm just telling you that you have to focus here. So basically, if I tell you what are the different pointers if you are going to write down. So the first thing is that this program was initiated during fourth 5-year plan. Okay. And what was the main objective? The objective was to providing employment to the people in drought-prone areas and creating productive assets. Okay, so basically it emphasized on irrigation projects, land development programs, afforestation, grassland development, and creation of basic rural infrastructure such as electricity, road, market, credit, and services. So these were the main focus areas how they tried to create this. Now, National Committee on Development of Backward Areas. If I talk about, here it is, reviewed the performance of this program. And what has happened? Basically, it has advised that you have to change your strategies, or you have to just focus on some other strategies also. What happened? Strategies to create alternative employment opportunities in the drought-prone areas. This was one of the major observations, that we have to create alternate. There is a need to create alternative employment opportunities in drought-prone areas. So this was the first strategy which they talked about. Then the other strategy of development of these areas include adoption of integrated watershed development approach in micro level. So this was another important thing, that watershed development programs should be implemented not on the bigger areas. It should come to the lower level also. At the small check dams can be created everywhere. Then another important thing was, the third strategy was the restoration of ecological balance. And when we talk about the ecological balance between what? Water, soil, plants, and human and animal population. So this was the basic consideration in the strategy of development of drought-prone areas. Now, what happened? The Planning Commission of India in 1967 identified 67 districts in entire country or partly as drought-prone areas. So, if we include which are those areas which are drought-prone, it is very common. What comes in your mind? As soon as you are asked which are drought-prone areas, probably you will say Rajasthan, Gujarat. Okay, no doubt. But what about the other areas also? There are several areas in the interior part of India, say in the central India. So, for example, semi-arid and arid tracts of Rajasthan and Gujarat, that's okay, everybody knows. But Western MP, Marathawada region of Maharashtra, Rayalaseema and Telangana plateau of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka plateau and highlands and interior parts of Tamil Nadu. So these are broadly categorized as the areas which are drought prone. So drought prone areas of Punjab, Haryana, and North Rajasthan are largely protected due to spread of irrigation in these areas. Now, how come? We will read about this because the canal irrigation, Indira Gandhi Canal, has come here, and we are going to read a case study on this. So this was about DPAP. Now, let us come to the case study on integrated tribal development project in Bharmaur region. So we need to understand, first of all, you need to see the map of Bharmaur. Let me just zoom out. So see here, basically, if you see Bharmaur tribal region, it is located in Himachal Pradesh. Okay. Now, if you see here, it has 4 subdivisions. One is Khani, then Kugti, then Tunda, and then you will have Holi. So in Chamba district, it is located, Bharmaur. And if you see, all these four subdivisions are separated by two or three rivers. There are three rivers. Now, if I show you which are those three rivers, so you'll come to know that the first one is Ravi River. So if you see, Ravi is making a boundary between Khani and Holi area. Then another is Budhil River. This is the Budhil River. Budhil River creates the boundary between Kugti area and Khani area. Whereas Tundan River, see here, Tundan River, it creates a border between Tunda area and Kugti area. And Ravi once again creates a border between Holi and Tunda also. So we see its location, and it is one of the most, Bharmaur is a tribal area comprising Bharmaur and Holi Tehsil of Chamba district of Himachal Pradesh. So it is a notified tribal area since 21st November 1975. So if you see here, let me zoom in. So Bharmaur tribal area, and it was notified. It is a notified area since November 21st November 1975. If we talk about, so Bharmaur is inhabited by Gandhi, a tribal community. So you must have heard about Gujars, Bakarwals, Gaddis. So Gandhi tribe is found in this Bharmaur region. And they are tribal community who have maintained a distinct identity in Himalayan region because they practice transhumance. How many of you remember about the transhumance? We have read in primary activities in human geography book. So when we talk about transhumance, it is the seasonal change in the areas moving up and down the mountains. During summer, they will just move up when snow is not there, lush green plains are there and grasses are there. So they will move with their animals and graze them. And once again, when there are winters, they will come back to the plains. So this is known as transhumance. Basically, Gandhi tribe practice transhumance and they converse through the Gadiali dialect. Now, Bharmaur tribal region has a harsh climate. As you know, it is very fragile. So according to the census 2011, the total population of Bharmaur subdivision was only 39,113 and 21 persons per square kilometer area was the density. So population density was very low. Now, it is one of the most economically and socially backward areas of Himachal Pradesh. Historically, the Gaddis have experienced geographical and political isolation and socio-economic deprivation also. So the economy is largely based on agriculture and allied activities such as sheep and goat rearing. Now, the process of development of tribal area of Bharmaur started in 1970 when Gaddis were included among the scheduled tribes under the fifth five-year plan. So which five-year plan? Fifth five-year plan. If you remember, just before this page, we have read about the tribal area programs. So under the fifth five-year plan, the tribal sub-plan was introduced in 1974 and Bharmaur was designated as one of the five integrated tribal development projects, so ITDP in Himachal Pradesh. Now, what was the main aim of this program? So this program, ITDP, just focused on improving the quality of life of Gaddis, first thing. So the first was improving the quality of life of Gaddis. And then second plan was narrowing the gap in the level of development between Bharmaur and other areas of Himachal Pradesh. As you know, that it was geographically isolated and fragile. It did not cope up with the other areas. So what happened? This became one of the most important things where they wanted to narrow the gap in the level of development between Bharmaur and other areas of Himachal Pradesh. Now, what actions or steps were taken? If you are asked, and you may be asked this question in board examination. So what actions or steps were taken. So highest priority on this, on the development of transport and communications, agriculture and allied activities, and social and community service. So this was the one of the more main focus, that they have to develop the transport infrastructure, communication infrastructure, agriculture and allied activities need to be developed, and social and community services should be started. Then development of infrastructure in terms of like schools, healthcare facilities, potable water, roads, communication, electricity. The remote village in Tunda and Kupti areas still do not have sufficient infrastructure, though other areas have shown the improvement, but this area, Tunda and Kupti, they are still facing this problem. So now this is one of the most important things which you are asked in this. And this question is asked for almost 5 marks. So what were the social and economic benefits derived from ITDP in Bharmaur region? This is the question which I am saying. Okay, so if we have to say, so there was a tremendous increase in literacy rate after the implementation of ITDP. There was a tremendous increase in literacy rate. There was an improvement in sex ratio and decline in child marriage. If particularly talk about the female literacy, so you will see how it improved. It improved from 1.88% in 1971 to 65% in 2011. So that is a wonderful change which was seen. The difference between males and female in literacy level, gender inequality has also declined. So that is also one of the social benefit. If we talk about, let me change the color. Okay. So the Gaddis had a subsistence agriculture come pastoral economy. So they have depended on subsistence agriculture for their life survival. They used to do this type of practices. Now, what has happened? What changes have been introduced? So now the Gaddis had subsistence agriculture come pastoral economy, having emphasis on food, grain, and livestock production. But during the last 3 decades, that means 30 years, 20th century, the cultivation of pulses and other cash crops has increased in Bharmaur region. So now they are producing cash crops. But the crop cultivation is still done with the traditional technology. Means still they are not having that big means high five methods which we have in other areas. The declining importance to pastoralism has declined in this region. So the declining importance of pastoralism in the economy of the region can be gauged from the fact that presently only 1/10 of the total household practice transhumance. What used to happen in the beginning when this ITDP was not introduced, almost 90% people were involved only in transhumance. Now what has happened? If there is a shift, now only 10% are left who are involved in transhumance. Rest 90% are doing some other works. So the Gaddis, despite all these things, Gaddis are very mobile. In a sizable section of them migrate to Kangra and surrounding areas during winter to earn their livings from wage labor. So earlier they used to practice transhumance. Now they go to the Kangra areas and do the work, wage labor, and after that they practice their lifestyle. So this was about what have been the benefits of implementation of ITDP program in social and economic benefits in Bharmaur region. Now let us come to the sustainable development. This is important topic. Last year a 5-marker question came on this. And 2021-22 batch into March 22. So there was a 5-marker question which was asked in one of the sets of geography. Now, normally what has happened when we talk about the sustainable development, probably all of you have been listening about this ever since, means I will say, if not more than, so from 6th grade onwards, you must have been listening this term sustainable development. Now, what is sustainable development? Basically, if I have to say that development should take place without damaging the environment, and development in present should not compromise with the needs of the future generations. Now, what happens in the post-World War II era? The concept of development was synonymous to economic growth. Initially, it was thought that if any country is economically strong and economic growth is there, so it is very good. But what has happened? Uh, but slowly and slowly, there has been a change. In 1970s, basically, the phrases such as redistribution with growth and equity were incorporated in the definition of development. So there has been a change of late. Hmm. So 1970s. So it was realized that the concept of development cannot be restricted to the economic sphere. We cannot say that development is that which will happen in economic sphere. It also includes the issues such as improving the well-being. So here we have to. So development also need to include the issues such as improving the well-being and living standard of the people, availing of the health, education, and equality of opportunities, and ensuring political and civil rights. So this was introduced. Now, notion of sustainable development emerged in the wake of general rise in the awareness of environmental issues in late 1960s. Basically, if we say, and the question was this only, in Indian context, it was asked, and how sustainable development has emerged over a period of time. So this was one of the questions which you have to think about. So there was means this notion. What happened? The publication of the population bomb by Eric. So here see population bomb in 1968 and the limits to growth by Meadows and others in 1972 further raised the level of fear among the environmentalists in particular and people in general. So people have started understanding, questioning. So this set of the scenario for the emergence of new models of development under a broader phrase called sustainable development. Concerned with the growing opinion of the world community on the environmental issues, the UN established a World Commission on Environment and Development. So they established a World Commission on Environment and Development known as WCED. And it was headed by the Norwegian Prime Minister known as Gro Harlem Brundtland. So he was the main person or the chief of this organization. Now, what happened? This commission was asked to submit a report on the sustainable development. So this commission gave its report, which came to be known as Brundtland report, entitled as Our Common Future. So what was it called? It was called Our Common Future in 1987. Now, this report defines sustainable development as development that meets the needs of present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their needs. So this came to be known as sustainable development. Now, after this, we'll come to the another case study, which is really important. As I said, that in Rajasthan, Punjab, and Haryana, there has been areas which were earlier drought prone, but now this situation has been countered by the development of Indira Gandhi Canal. So see here the picture of Indira Gandhi Canal. So if you see this picture, just think about it, and I'm just going to tell about this. So basically, this idea of Indira Gandhi Canal, which was previously known as Rajasthan Canal, later on it was renamed as one of the largest canal systems in India. Originally, this idea to develop this canal was conceived by Kamar Sen in 1914. But this canal project was launched on 31st March in 1958. Now, if you say this canal originates in Punjab from Satluj River near Harike Barrage. So from Harike barrage, Bias and Satluj river where they meet, near, so here it is originates and it flows along the border of Pakistan on Indian side approximately 40 kilometer inside the border, away from the border. So its distance from the border is 40 kilometer. So if we see, okay. So this river system, if you talk about, the canal originates at Harike barrage in Punjab and runs parallel to Pakistan border at an average distance of 40 kilometers in Thar Desert, which is known as Marustali. So the total planned length of the system is at present 9,060 kilometers. This is important. Let's go to the written section here. See here, the project was conceived by Kamar Singh in 1948 and work was started on 31st March 1958. So it originates at Harike barrage in Punjab and runs parallel to Pakistan border. Average distance 40 kilometers in Thar Desert or Marustali. Now the total planned length 9,060 kilometers and to the irrigation needs of the total cultivable command area 19.63 lakh hectares. This is a huge area. Now, out of the total command area, about 70% was envisaged to be irrigated by flow system and the rest by lift system. So the construction work of the canal has been carried out in stages. So there were two stages that we need to understand. Now, if we talk about the stage one, the command area of stage one lies in Ganganagar, Hanumangarh, and northern part of Bikaner. So the command area of Bikaner district. So its culturable command area is 5.53. Culturable command area is 5.53 lakh hectares. Whereas if we talk about irrigation in the stage one, command area of the canal was introduced in early 1960s. So here in early 1960s, the irrigation work was started. Now coming to the second stage. If we talk about the second stage is spread in Bikaner, Jaisalmer, Bharmaur, Jodhpur, Nagaur and Churu district, covering approximately 14.10 lakh hectare. That means second one is bigger than the first stage, almost thrice bigger. So it comprised desert land dotted with the shifting sand dunes and temperature soaring 50 degrees Celsius in summer. So in this command area, the irrigation was started in 1980. So mid 1980s में यहाँ पे irrigation began. Now, if we talk about so here it is written. In first command area, stage 1, 1960 and stage 2 in mid 1980. If you see, it is written. Now, you will be asked the positive effects. So question will be asked, what have been the positive and negative effects of Indira Gandhi Canal Command Area Development Program? So you will be asked this. Now, what are the positive effects which you have to write down, which you have to mention in pointers? So the first point is the availability of soil moisture for a longer period of time and various afforestation and pasture development programs under CAD have resulted in greening the land. So this has become the first and foremost important thing. Then second, helped in reducing wind erosion. So wind erosion has been reduced. So this one was the first. Reducing wind erosion. And it has reduced, third point is reduced siltation of canal system. So siltation of canal system has been reduced. Then Spread of canal irrigation has led to increase in cultivated area and intensity of cropping. So what has other changes been there? Here, it has increased the cultivated area, intensity of cropping, and the traditional crops shown in the area like gram, bajra, jowar have been replaced by wheat, cotton, groundnut, and rice. So these are positive effects. Now, remember, nothing comes, everything has two sides of the coin, isn't it? So there is a negative effect also, if we talk about. So if we talk about negative effects, the intensive irrigation, okay, and excessive use of water has led to the emergence of twin environmental problem of waterlogging and increase in soil salinity. So intensive irrigation, livestock productivity, it has also caused waterlogging and soil salinity. And thus, in long runs, it hampers the sustainability of the agriculture. So this is the negative impact which we can talk about. Now, let us come the last part of this. And this is important from the perspective that this question has been asked for 5 marks in board examination. So, for example, you may be asked that you are a resident of Rajasthan. So, tell me about the measures for promotion of sustainable development in Rajasthan. Or direct question might be asked that what measures have been taken for the promotion of sustainable development in Indira Gandhi Canal project area. So these two questions can directly be asked. Now, these 7 pointers will be directly written. Remember. So let's see the first what has been done. The first thing, the first requirement is a strict implementation of water management policy. Yes. What happens? We do not become strict with the implementation of the laws. That is the one of the backbone, or you can say, very poor implementation of the laws has always resulted in the failing of the laws, whereas there was no problem in the law. So here also, the first requirement is a strict implementation of water management policy. The canal project emphasizes protective irrigation in stage 1 and extensive irrigation of crops and pastures development in stage 2. So these two things have been envisaged by this program. First thing, it should be done. Then next, second, in general, the cropping pattern shall not include water-intensive crops, and water-intensive crops like rice, sugarcane, cotton. These should not be included. Instead, you have to use such crops which do need, which are drought-resistant crops like jowar, bajra, makka. So it shall be adhered to, the people shall be encouraged to grow plantation crops such as citrus fruits. So they need to be encouraged to grow citrus fruits. Now, citrus fruit, that means oranges, or you can say grapes, such type of fruits, lemons, these need to be grown. Now, third thing, the CAD programs such as lining of water courses, land development, and leveling and Varabandi system. What is Varabandi system? That means equal distribution of canal water in command area of outlet shall be effectively implemented to reduce the conveyance loss, so that water does not get lost while it is being transported to the fields. Then fourth thing is the areas affected by water logging and soil salinity must be reclaimed. And how you can reclaim them? By adding gypsum. Whereas if you know that Rajasthan has one of the largest deposit of gypsum. Now, the eco development through afforestation, shelter belt, plantation, and pasture development is necessary, particularly in the fragile environment of stage 2. So eco development needs to be done afforestation, shelter beds should be there so that sand dunes get stabilized. Pasture should be there because this area is very fragile. Now, welcome to the next. So the social sustainability in the region can be achieved only if the land allottees having poor economic background are provided adequate financial and institutional support. So remember, the land allottees having poor economic background must be provided with adequate financial and institutional support for cultivation of land. That means if they do not have enough support for means money, credit needs to be provided to them so that they can cultivate. And last but not the least, the economic sustainability in the region cannot be attained only through development of agriculture and animal husbandry. So sustainability cannot come only by agriculture and animal husbandry. Instead, what you need to do, you have to develop your agriculture and allied sectors so that you have to diversify your economic base. So diversification of economic base and establishment of functional linkage between basic village, agro services centers and market centers are needed. So students, I will need that you just comment. How did you like it? And also, uh, once again, I'll say that this channel has been created to help you out. It will be really good if you just spread to other students also. I want it to be available across India to everyone so that students can learn something very good at very means free of cost. This is the basic motto of this channel which has been promoted. So we are beginning with, and if you have still not subscribed to the channel, Swamail channel. So Swamail Educational Foundation, the name of the channel. You have to subscribe it. You have to see the entire videos. You need to understand because watching in just partial, you will not be able to understand all the concepts because concepts are interlinked. That's why you have to watch the entire video so that you can understand all the concepts wholly. Now, I will thank everyone and we will see you in next class. Thank you so much.